Participants 8, 9, 10, 12, 14.
The number has reached 59, 62. It is getting fast.
We'll wait for a few more participants. We'll start another minute. So. Okay, thank you. We've reached a reasonable number of participants. A very good evening to one and all present here and all the attendees and the distinguished panelists. On behalf of IITR and KFCRI, I welcome you all to this meeting. Before we move on to the session, I would just like to establish certain housekeeping rules. So throughout the session, you can ask any questions you have directed to the speaker in the Q&A box below. So once you put the questions in the last 15 minutes, which is reserved for the Q&A sessions, will be the panelists will try to answer those questions as well. Otherwise, if you have any technical difficulties or you would want to communicate anything to the panelist, you can use the chat box below, texting us privately on your issues, or we'll try our best to handle them. Now, I would like to introduce KFCRI as an institution to one and all present here. COIS Foundation Conflict Resolution International is of two wings. One, it is an accreditation body in the field of ADR. We provide various levels of accreditation in arbitration, mediation, conciliation, negotiation as well, by way of training. Apart from this, KFCRI is a ADR body in itself. We have our own rules and our ADR clauses, which can be incorporated in clauses, and then a dispute arising out of such clauses or contracts will be adjudicated by us. If you want to know more details, you can visit our website at www.kfcri.org. We'll be texting those links in the chat box as well. Thank you. After this, I would like Mr. Indu Vijayan to speak a few words. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Once again, thanks for Indian Institution of Technical Arbitrators to give this opportunity to have this webinar organized along with the KFCRI. Today, we have a special guest. Before introducing and handing over to the president, I like to introduce the special guest, Engineer G.C. Kabi, who is presently the chairman of Delhi State Center of IITR and a former arbitrator and chief engineer of CPWD. I think when I had an opportunity to meet, he was a superintendent engineer CPWD and a permanent arbitrator of East Region. To add on, he is a fellow of the prestigious Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, UK. And in his record, he has published 177 arbitration awards. It's really mind-blowing numbers of arbitration awards. He is also a governing council member of SCL, that is the Society of Construction Law India, and empaneled arbitrator of Indian Council of Arbitration. Additionally, his qualification, when it comes to his basic graduation, he is a civil engineer from REC, Rourkela, in the year 1988, and he joined the CPWD through the Engineering Services Group A. He holds a master's diploma in business administration from the Symbiosis Institution, Pune, as well as the PG diploma ADR in Nalsa University along with ICADR. I think because of this post-graduation, what he did, he is now doing excellent in the field of arbitration. And to sum up, after his retirement, even though it's not a normal retirement, he took a voluntary retirement from CPWD in 2018. He has founded a very prominent consultancy, arbitration consultancy firm titled Kabi and Associates in Delhi. And by the end of this day, we will also share his coordinates. Engineer Kabi, welcome, sir. Welcome to this August gathering. This is the third webinar wherein we are reaching all the IITR members even during the COVID-19 situation. Now I request Engineer K.N. Agarwal, sir, to share a few words before Mr. Kabi should start.
Thank you, Mr. Indravajan. I think I will reserve my comments for the end. So I will request Mr. Kabir to please start his presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Indravajan, for the kind words. And so I will go straight to the topic. Good evening, everybody. I can't see everyone, but I hope that you can see me and also hear me. Today's topic is accepted matter in construction contracts and jurisdiction of arbitrator. This headquarters suggested me this topic because I am told there are some gray issues and some confusion recently because of some of the judicial pronouncements, and there are litigation on these issues and there are some confusion. So we will try to unclutter what can be done. Some gray areas may remain, and I will reserve my own opinions to the question answer sessions mostly. So I will basically tell the facts in the beginning, so that we can the question answer session we can discuss what should be the how should we go about it and what should be the right perspective in this. Before we deal with this, let us say this accepted matters is a primarily subset of what is arbitrable or what is not arbitrable. Arbitrability is a bigger or larger question, and today's topic is we are not covering all the aspects of arbitrability. We are discussing one aspect of it, that is the accepted matters. And so before we go further into some of the judgments and other related issues, let us first see what is the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996 says about the accepted matters. Very surprisingly, the words accepted matters are not mentioned in the Act. The statute per se does not use these words, accepted matters. So where from we get it? Now, let us see all the provisions which relate to arbitrability in a very short way, so that then we can come to the accepted matter. If you see section 2.3, subsection 3 of section 2 of the ANC Act 1996, it reserves that or provides there is a reservation if under some law, some of the disputes or issues, matters are not to be settled by arbitration, then those are not subject to part 1 of this act. It means this act, Arbitration and Conciliation Act, reserves certain things, that certain exclusions are possible. By law, certain issues may not be arbitrable. So, for example, a criminal offense or a issue related to adoption or matrimonial, certain disputes, these are not subject to arbitration. And there is a corresponding provision in section 34(2)(b) when you challenge an arbitral awards. It says, it starts with, you see, section 34 had two distinct subheads, 2A and 2B. This comes under 2B. And it says, if the court finds, and this is in distinct from 34(2)(a), where it says a party establishes. There is change in language in 2019, and I will come to it later, from the records before the arbitral tribunal. So this is not in 2A, this is in 2B. If the court finds, so it says if the court finds that under the law certain disputes are not arbitrable, then this is a ground for challenge of arbitral awards. So it means even if the parties submit certain disputes to arbitration, if it is not arbitrable by law, then it is a valid ground, and whether a party proves it or not, it is a ground where the court will find on its own. So this is one part of it. Now, other provisions which are related to this subject and where Supreme Court relied on in one case is section 7. Now, if you see section 7, there are two provisions which are relevant. One, subsection 1, and other is subsection 3. And I am not making a PPT because I think that all these are available, so we can connect to it. Subsection 1 basically says what? That parties can subject certain issues, all or certain disputes to arbitration. They can submit. It means section 7 says that the affords the party autonomy for submission before arbitration. Parties may decide to submit all their disputes, of course, which are arbitrable by law, in law, to arbitration, or they may decide that only certain disputes they will submit to arbitration. This is section 7.1. And section 7.3 provides that arbitration agreement has to be in writing. These are the two relevant provisions which somehow in the course we'll discuss that came before the apex court. Then if we see section 16, we know the jurisdiction of the arbitrator. Arbitrator can decide on his own jurisdiction, and there is a procedure whenever arbitrator is exceeding his jurisdiction or his authority. In addition to existence of arbitration agreement, then there is a procedure for challenge before the arbitrator on its own jurisdiction. But the provision is that in case arbitrator finds that he has jurisdiction, then parties have to wait till section 34 challenge is made. And so in between, there is no remedy for the parties have to wait till section 34, section 34. But if the tribunal decides that it has no jurisdiction, then he will recuse from it. So this is the provision in section 16. And because the accepted matter related issues also, the challenge comes under section 16. Then if you see section 23(2)(a), which was introduced in 2015, it has a provision that the respondent can file its counterclaim directly before the tribunal. And there one caveat is there, subject to that such disputes should be within the scope of the arbitration agreement. It means here also something which will be related to accepted matters. And then of course the provision is section 34. Section 34(2)(a) in subsection 4 has another provision that the arbitrator can decide only those disputes which are before him, which are submitted before him. He cannot go beyond it. So these are the relevant provisions so far the Act is concerned. Now, what is an accepted matter? If we have not defined it, the accepted matter is something which parties have decided to accept or exclude from arbitration, to simply speaking. So the apex court in one of its judgment, that is by Justice Ravindran, Booz Allen Hamilton versus SBI Home Finance Limited. This was, I think, in 2011, 15th April 2011. Now, it made three categories of disputes which are not arbitrable. The first category is those which he says, the apex court says that which are to be decided in a public forum, in a court, which are not subject to, which in law is not arbitrable. So certain disputes and issues like, as I told, criminal offense and other things, these are not subject to arbitration. The second category is those which the parties have decided in their arbitration agreement that they will not submit to arbitration. These are basically the accepted matters. The second. And there are third category where parties, which disputes parties have not submitted before the tribunal. If you see the provisions which we have seen in the Arbitration Act, even in the ancestral model, these are basically the first category and the third category. First is something which is not arbitrable as per law. Third is something which parties have not submitted before him. There is no mention per se directly of the accepted matters in the statute. So there are problems because the accepted matters are being submitted before the tribunal, but there is a dispute whether these are arbitrable or not, whether that is the issue. Now, again, if you go little other case laws, we'll find to declutter the things, there are a lot of judgments. And it is not possible to discuss all these judgments. But to remove the confusion and doubt, there are a lot of judgments which were primarily under the 1940 Act. And we need not bother too much about those judgments now. Reason is that in many cases in those judgments, like in Sarvesh Chopra or FCI versus Srikanth Transport, the issue was under 1940 Act on reference to arbitration. So the jurisdiction of court was there to decide whether a dispute is accepted matter or not. So whether it should be referred to arbitration or not. So under that, Supreme Court decided the court has to decide that whether a dispute is accepted matter or not. But in SBP versus Patel Engineering, the 7 judges Constitution Bench in 2005, and as explained later by Boghara Polypheb by Justice Ravindran. So there are 3 categories of disputes, and accepted matter fell on the 3rd category, where it was decided whether it is an accepted matter or not should be left to the arbitrator to decide. It means this reference part is now not there under Section 11. Now here one problem comes. In many organizations, the appointing authorities are not referring the disputes, and they don't refer the disputes to arbitration, considering the previous judgments and the rule where the court was not referring the disputes to arbitration because these were accepted matter. Now this does not hold good under 1996 Act. Whether it is an accepted matter or not, itself is a dispute, and it is to be decided by the arbitrator. So I am not going to discuss much on this because this is already settled. Now the problem what has come recently in 2 types of contracts mostly. One is railways and another is CPWD based standard form of contracts on accepted matters. And these we will discuss some of the judgments where these are coming. Now here also the problem is coming in 2 aspects. One is the primarily the interpretation of the language itself of the arbitration agreement. Second part is that the disputes which we are considering as accepted, some of these are matters related to breach of contract and claim of damages compensation. There coming another principle which is being considered whether one of the parties or officers of the organizations can decide finally these issues. So most of the judgments, these are the things. So I will in nutshell come into these issues in referring to the judgments, so that in a final we can get into some opinion about what should be the scenario. And let me refer to this first, beginning with the Biswanath Sood case. Now, as you know, the Biswanath Sood case in 1989, this was a case of a construction of some farmers' community building something in Himachal Pradesh. And the question there was a counterclaim by the department of 24,000 rupees under clause 2, levy of compensation. But the superintending engineer had not levied any compensation. And arbitrator awarded 20,000 rupees to the respondent department. And this ultimately went to the Supreme Court. There the Supreme Court decided the superintending engineer is the final authority to decide and adjudicate on this issue. And so the levy of compensation, the award money, this was set aside. So this is finally the contractor challenging it and telling the claimant contractor that the decision has to be by the superintending engineer, and that is final and binding, rather than department is arguing this case. So the basic question was there is this division bench of the High Court had raised this issue or decided this issue differing from the single bench, that the fundamental question who caused delay is arbitrable, and only the quantum issue is final and binding. But that was not upheld by the Supreme Court in Biswanath Sood case. They treated the whole clause together as the issue as accepted matter. This is the finding. But the Supreme Court did record its serious concern that, and there may be issues and problems if one of the parties or officer of one of the parties is given this power to decide this issue. But finally, Supreme Court decided that this, the finding was based on something. The superintending engineer has to take into consideration all the factors, mitigating factors, whether department was in delay, and he may reduce the amount of the levy, or he may even waive it. So finally, in Biswanath Sood case, the Supreme Court treated the superintending engineer as an adjudicating authority and considered that there is a complete mechanism for decision. This was the finding. Then subsequently there was another judgment in Uttam Singh Duggal versus I think Yamuna Bridge project, where also this issue came, and finally two issues were concerned in addition to other issues. Because Biswanath Sood case, it has been decided, it has been observed rather, that it is the executive engineer who will first decide the levy issue, and the superintending engineer will come as an appellate or revisional authority, and then he will decide. This issue was raised by the contractor there, that here 1 crore 35 lakhs or something had been levied, and so who caused the delay, that was raised before the arbitrator, and that issue came to Supreme Court. But finally in that judgment also it was decided, relied on the Biswanath Sood. The clause 2 is a complete machinery and it is final and binding. Now, two things were not noticed at that stage by the Apex Court. One is the Raman Foundry judgment in 1974. Justice Bhagavati, two judgments. There one fundamental question was raised, that who caused delay has to be adjudicated by an independent body. Now, though that was not referred, the spirit of Biswanath Sood is that superintending engineer is an independent authority, deciding and adjudicating. Basically, whenever we are calling as adjudication, it means he is independent. So this was the thing, though it was not referred. Another judgment which was not referred, that was State of Karnataka versus Rameswara Rice Mills. This was a full bench of Karnataka High Court judgment which was affirmed by Supreme Court in 1987. So there the issue was that finally it was decided one of the parties cannot be the arbiter if there is a dispute who has caused breach. That has to be adjudicated by an independent body. Now these two judgments do not find any mention in Biswanath Sood case. So, but that is how that remained. But then we have a huge number of judgments in many high courts and other places, other courts, where the clause 2 of the CPWD was treated as an accepted matter, and the situation continued like this. Now, in between, there are some judgments in railway contracts. The Sarvesh Chopra judgment came in 2002. I think it came it is 1st March. It is I think 1st March 2002. So Justice Lahoti was there, and two judges bench. Now, I will speak about this judgment, one critical issue, which is maybe one part is that I will not discuss that. It was discussing whether the court should decide or the matter whether accepted or not, because this was under 1948. That obviously the court had to go through it under 1948. But the critical issue that decided, there was a provision under, I think, clause 63 in railways contract. The accepted clause provided like this, that which provisions are accepted, it mentioned for which there has been a provision in the contract. Now, and the provision in the general conditions of contract and provision in the special conditions of the contract. Now, in that case, the scope of accepted matter was enlarged in a sense. There were some special conditions of contract which were not specifically referred, the clause numbers in the arbitration clause, but they were no claim or no damage clauses. The Supreme Court decided these are also accepted matter because these are not entertainable. Now here there is a fundamental problem. If there is a no claim damage, in my personal humble opinion, this is not an accepted matter. This is something which the arbitrator can decide whether there is an award can be made or not. of course, interpreting the no-claim clauses. If we make it an accepted matter, means arbitrator will say it does not have a jurisdiction to decide. It means these are not decided, and these are to be decided by in a court. Now, no claim, just reading that any provision made in the contract, to read no claim clauses is also accepted matter is a very, very expansive definition of no claim clauses. And that remained in the Sarvesh Chopra judgment. And of course, there are another say, FCI versus Food Corporation, Food Corporation of India versus Srikant Transport. The interesting case was that there were 3 disputes, again under 1948. This was, I think, 1999. 3 disputes were arbitrable, were referred. One was accepted matter. But finally, Supreme Court decided to refer it to arbitration because there was a nexus of this dispute with other disputes. But Supreme Court observed that this is as a special case they are referring. So we can't take it as a precedence there. Now, so far so good. This is the position here. What is the scope of accepted matter? Now, then comes, there are many other judgments. I'm referring to some of the BSNL versus Motorola in 2008 and Supreme Court. And then again, of course, the distinction, this BSNL versus Motorola. Now, again, the problem is BSNL versus Motorola does refer to Biswanath Sood case, but it distinguishes Biswanath Sood case. It refers to Rameswara Rice Mills and says one of the party cannot be the arbiter to decide who has caused the breach. But there was some difference in the clause in BSNL versus Motorola and the other clauses like in Biswanath Sood and other CPWD format. Reason is this: there was no machinery for determination of breach in that clauses. So the distinction was made. So it was only made for breach of contract, only for assessment of the damages. But the Supreme Court did also decide that one of the parties cannot decide in case there is a question of breach. This remained there. The distinction it made from Biswanath Sood is that in Biswanath Sood case, the superintending engineer is deciding the issue and not the executive engineer deciding the issue, unlike in BSNL versus Motorola, where the divisional engineer was deciding both the issues. That remained one issue which was the distinction there. Now, before I come to JJ Engineers and to Mitra Guha, which is the cause of concern now, now there are 2 more different issues related to accepted matters. Because these judgments have come in between, I will refer to this. One is Madani Construction, where it was by Justice Karju and 2 judges bench, and one is Harsha Developers. That was in 2014. Now, in Madani case, what happened? There was this is well written by Justice A.K. Ganguly. And the important thing is that the observation of Supreme Court is based on that even if there is an accepted matter in the contract, unless it is the procedure is followed by the parties to bring it under the accepted matter, then it will be arbitrable. And in that particular case, the situation was that there was a dispute regarding measurements. There was a clause in the contract. If there is a dispute in the measurements, then after that, there will be, contractor will give a notice within 7 days. Then there will be engineer will or his representative and the contractor will have a joint measurement. And if the contractor does not turn up, then the engineer will take the final measurement and that will become final and binding. Now, here that the engineer's decision was not there and that finality was not there. This final joint measurement and there was a dispute. It did not happen like that. So, and another problem came, there was a tampering of the record by the railways, which is recorded by the Supreme Court. So, there was a question of facts. Supreme Court said, when there is a finding of facts by the arbitrator that records have been, there is some abuse or tampering of the records, then it cannot be said that this decision will become final by the authority of the organ department. So, it was referred to arbitration. But in Harsha Construction, what happened in 2014, again a 2 judges bench, there Madani and was referred. But the Supreme Court differed in its opinion, again giving a very, very expansive meaning to accepted matters. There the question was that there was a dispute and there was a provision where finally the engineer has to determine, and after the engineer determines, there is a appeal to the chief engineer, and chief engineer decision was to be final and binding. Now there what happened, the engineer did not take the final decision, take a decision, it did not determine, and so there was no appeal to the chief engineer made. Since this plea was taken relying on Madani, since there was no engineer did not determine, so it could not be, next stage could not be taken, and so there is no final decision, it was not referred to the chief engineer, so it is arbitrable. But Supreme Court relied on section 7 of the ANC Act 1996, and it held that even if a dispute is referred before the tribunal, the arbitrator will not get jurisdiction. The arbitrator is also to see that because for every arbitrable dispute, there has to be a written agreement under section 7. So this is again a very, very expansive meaning given to accepted matter in as recently as in 2014. Now coming back to the same line where Biswanath Sood case, and next case is JJ Engineers, and this most of you are aware what was the decision by, that was the CPWD case, this Guwahati terminal expansion, there was multiple arbitrations. In that case, Justice Ravindran decided two issues. First issue was decided reading the parenthesis within the clause 2, which says that the 1% or any smaller amount within the parenthesis as decided by the superintending engineer shall be final and binding. Supreme Court read this finality to the amount of compensation and not to the primary issue of who has caused the breach. Supreme Court decided there is nothing in clause 2 which means that the who has caused the breach, the decision of superintending engineer will be final. Now, unfortunately, the JJ Engineers does not refer to Biswanath Sood case. Like Biswanath Sood did not refer to previous judgments regarding whether a departmental authority can adjudicate finally. So JJ Engineer does not rely on this. It relies on BSNL versus Motorola. It relies on State of Karnataka versus Rameswara Rice Mills, but it does not refer to Biswanath Sood. But on reading of the language, it looks to be more appropriate there, where the parenthesis writing just before that, it is talking about the quantum of compensation, and that within the bracket it is writing the final. So normally a bracket is to be read what is just mentioned in that. So this is how the JJ Engineers went. But JJ Engineers also mentioned one thing there in addition to that, that an officer of the department or government cannot be the final arbiter of deciding who has caused the breach. Now, this is another aspect in JJ Engineers. Now comes the Mitra Guha judgment in 2000, now 8th November. Now, in my humble opinion, there are a lot of issues in these judgments, and which probably contradicts certain things. First thing is that it relies on Biswanath Sood case. Biswanath Sood recorded that the clause provides 1% or any smaller amount. The clause which ONGC case, Mitra Guha case was there, it does not mention so. It means it refers 0.5% per week, and it does not say any smaller amount. The clause is different, which was not noticed. Now, another issue which is most important, the clause 25 of the Mitra Guha judgment, which is, of course, I have not read the contract document. I have what is written in the judgment. It does not mention unless otherwise provided in the contract. Those words are missing. Now, an accepted matter is a combination where it is written in the arbitration clause and there is a provision in the main contract. And as we know from section 16, these are separate contracts, the arbitration clause and this. Now, even if it is not provided in the arbitration, finally, if you provide some finality in a particular clause, and we don't accept it in the arbitration clause, there is a doubt whether it will be, because there are contracts where there are provisions, a decision of such and such will be final and binding, then it writes next para. However, if there is a dispute continues, then it will be referred to arbitration. It means there are contract documents where this finality does not mean it is finally. So here the clause 25 does not provide this finality. Now the clause 25, I think I have little time, 5 minutes or more. The clause 25 does provide finality for reduction in rates and for substandard work determinations, specifically mentioned here. But this is again not, this is also not noticed. The third most important thing is that it does not refer to JJ engineers, which is ought to have done. But again, it is a 3 judges bench. Now, the reliance of Biswanath Sood case, one most important thing is today is there. One, we cannot be oblivious to how the organizations are functioning. In 1947, the Lahore High Court had decided the superintending engineer's decision is like the decision of an arbitrator. This was the status of superintending engineer in 1947 because he was treated to be an independent. This continued for quite some time. By the time 80s and later, this position has eroded. Today, the superintending engineer is deciding extra items. He is becoming project manager. He is deciding milestones in a contract. And these same things are being questioned. How can be an independent adjudicator where he has called upon to take decisions on his own matters, on own decisions? So the situation has changed, but this is not noticed in that way. It has relied on Biswanath Sood case and then. And one more very, very vital aspect, if you see, it has give consequence is very absurd. Because if you see, there was a retired judge who was the arbitrator here. Now the contractor had some claim of damages compensation. And the respondent had a claim of liquidated damages. The arbitrator decided that there is substantive delay by both the parties. And he did not allow the damages compensation to the contractor, and he did not allow the liquidated damages to ONGC. So he has neutralized these things. I am not going into merit of that, but I am telling finally no damages has been awarded into this. After the decision of the Supreme Court, the ONGC goes away with the LD. The contractor does not. Now there was a nexus in the arbitral awards between both the damages awards, because in case LD is given here to the, then other parties should also have got for the delay by the department. There is a finding of facts which that is not taken care of. So now again in this final issue of deciding what is accepted matter, if you look into the outcome, it has given an absurd result. Now if we come into probably another 5 minutes, I think I have. What should a tribunal should do? If we look into the issues here, one thing is that if a dispute is not arbitrable in law, whether a party raises this objection or not, the tribunal has a duty to decide under section 16, because otherwise it will be hit by section 34(2)(b). If a dispute is not arbitrable in the sense that it is an accepted matter, if you see the amendment in 2019 in section 2A, the words furnishes proof of has been removed, deleted. Instead of that, the words which are introduced, the phrase is this, that from the establishes from the record before the arbitral tribunal. So it means that if you go by Harsha construction case, it means the arbitrator has to suo motu decide his jurisdiction on accepted matters. Otherwise, it will be challengeable. Now, this comes into question with the amendment in section 2019, because if there is no challenge in section 16, so there will be no record of this issue for challenge under section 34(2)(a). So, in my opinion, arbitrator will not be bound after the amendment in 2019 to suo motu consider the accepted matters unless there is a challenge in section under section 16 of this. Now, if there is a challenge under section 16, then obviously arbitrator has to decide it, including the Mitra Goa judgment. So their only question is that it will differ based on the language of the arbitration clause. It will also see what are the facts of the case. If there are a lot of facts are brought on discovery where the authority is adjudicating and we are telling there is a complete machinery and his decision is final. If he is involved in many of the disputes, then this whole adjudicating role of it will be questioned, and arbitrator can look into this aspect, and ultimately it will go to again Supreme Court and maybe a larger bench or the coordinate bench. Somewhere it has to decide again, considering all these issues. I think I will conclude with this so that in question and answer session we can deal with other subjects.
Thank you very much, sir. So I think that was a very insightful session on expected matters in construction contracts and jurisdiction of arbitrators. So since all our attendees are engineers and technical experts, I think they would be very much interested in construction contracts, and considering the importance of jurisdiction of arbitrators in dispute resolution, the precedents and judgments which you have quoted through your presentation were also, I think it might be very helpful for the attendees as well as the panelists in their practice of dispute resolution. So I think we have a bunch of questions from the attendees. I think we can answer a few questions based on the availability of time. So the first question is from engineer Suresh Kumar Kanumala. So his question is, if the arbitral tribunal decides that 2 claims out of 10 claims raised by the claimant contractor are expected matters and left them unadjudicated, in that case, can the contractor file a suit before a court under Section 8 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act for adjudication instead of filing a regular suit before the court?
I think not under. See, question is that obviously it is to be decided in a civil suit, and he can file it obviously in a commercial court now. And now Section 8 is a different issue, where under Section 8 basically you are arguing other party, we have an arbitration clause and court is referring to arbitration. Now here it will not be referred to arbitration. It will go for a civil suit, yes. Because these are accepted matter, arbitrator is not adjudicating. So these are to be decided in the commercial courts.
Thank you, sir. So I think that answers the question. So the next question from Mr. Krishna Kant. The contract specifies a fixed percentage of levy of compensation, and so the deciding authority has no option of deciding the levy amount. In that case, can the arbitrator decide to reduce the quantum of compensation so levied?
Sir, first question is that if it is accepted matter or not. If it is accepted matter, then obviously the arbitrator cannot adjudicate on this. Now, in my opinion, if we read Section 74 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, it is very clear. And if we read all the judgments from Fateh Chand to Maula Box to all subsequent judgments, it is very clear that, and if you see the 5 number illustrations given in the Section 74 of the Indian Contract Act, that whatever is specified in the contract, it is not there is a difference between English law and Indian law in Section 74 on liquidated damages. The difference is there, whether it is a genuine pre-estimate of liquidated damages or whether it is a penalty. In both cases, the compensation allowed is reasonable amount. So there is no law in India, if it is a liquidated damages, then whole thing is to be allowed. This is now that whole thing may be allowed, but only reasonable compensation are to be allowed. It means the amount is also to be looked into, unlike in English law. Once they decide it is a liquidated damages, it is allowed. There is no further decision on this. If you look into designers and contractors case in Supreme Court versus DDA, Justice Others Goyal, it is a 3 judges bench, they did it. They reduced it to 50%. Now, if the tribunal has the jurisdiction, it can also do it. Why not?
Thank you, sir. So we have the next question from Mr. Mrityunjay Roy. So he asks, can we argue that the so-called exception clauses are hit by Section 28 of the Indian Contracts Act?
No, not at all. Now, the question is that Section 28 of the Indian Contract Act says that if the claims are absolutely barred from the legal proceedings. Accepted matters, you are barring only the arbitrator. You are not barring the legal proceedings before the court. Arbitration is consensual.
Thank you, sir. So we have the next question from Mr. Jayant Ambikar. How to distinguish between expected matters and unconscionable clauses in the construction contracts?
These are two different things altogether. Accepted matters will be there in the arbitration agreement. It will be mentioned that these will not be subject to arbitration. That's all. Now, exclusion clauses are something unfair clauses, which are saying that even if somebody is causing a breach or something, then no claim will be done. I referred to it in Sarvesh Chopra case, dealt that these such clauses not per se are accepted matter, but it read the dispute resolution clause provides if there is a provision made in the contract. So since there is a no claim, it read that these are provisions made in the contract. In my opinion, I am not able to agree with this judgment. So the exclusion clauses are arbitrable.
Thank you, sir. So I think we have another question from Mr. Mrityunjay Roy as to what extent we can rely on JG Engineers Private Limited versus Union of India. So I think the lead panelist has answered this in his presentation, but with regard to he has also put another question, whether there is any reason why the JG Engineer construction case was not considered in the Mitra Guha case.
See, I was not in the court, so I don't know what were the records before the court. I can't comment on that.
Thank you, sir. So I think with that we can end the question and answer session. So due to the brevity of time, we were not able to answer all the questions. If you have any unanswered questions which you would like to be answered by the speaker, you can write to us at kfcri.adr@gmail.com or iitrhq@gmail.com. We will compile the questions and we'll try to get the answers from the lead panelist. So I think that was a very insightful session, sir. Thank you from my end. I would now request Dr. Colonel Nalathambi to give a few words.
Thank you, Farooq. Now I request the President to highlight few aspects. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Nalathambi. Thank you, Mr. Vijayan. Thank you, Mr. Shahrukh Kumar. Thank you, everyone. It was indeed a very nice presentation made by Mr. Kabi, which we know that he always makes. I'll just share one. See, I have been taking a view and the clause 2 of the CPWD contracts. Of course, the FIDIC contracts are different. That it is only the decision of the SC is final only in respect of the quantum and not about the delays, not about the question of that who has caused the delays. So that has been my position, and in fact even the Vishwanath Sood case which you have referred, I have read it and I don't find any wordings which say that the entire clause 2 is not arbitrable. In my opinion, the meaning of the Vishwanath Sood case as I understand is that only the quantum of the is final by the SC. Anyway, so I will like to be made wiser if I'm wrong. But on the whole, the question has been taken very well by Mr. Gabi. So, and I am sure that all the participants who have heard him will be benefited. So thank you everybody and thanks the KFCRI for organizing this. And that's all. I'll pass on the Goel sir may like to share some words.
Thank you, President. Past President Goel sir, can you say something?
I was not prepared to talk on this subject, but as usual, our young colleague and friend, Mr. Kavi, is a storehouse of information and knowledge. Particularly, he can remember all the court judgments and spell out even the date of the judgment from his memory. I don't think that there are any accepted matters as far as the FIDIC contracts are concerned. It's only, as he mentioned also, CPWD and railway contracts, which provide some exceptions. These exceptions have come from history. As Mr. Kavi said, 47 and before, the arbitration was very rare in construction contracts. In the contract, it was mentioned that in case of a dispute, the superintending engineer of the circle will act as an arbitrator. And that continued all along. And our mentality of the drafters probably was that some difficult questions were kept away and they were left with the essay. As Mr. Kavi has also analyzed, there is no independent officer these days. Every officer is involved in the project. The superintending engineer cannot take an independent decision. So in my opinion, it's high time that we should not, in construction contracts, there should be no place for any accepted matters, and all matters and disputes should be subject to proper adjudication by independent authorities. Thank you very much. Mr. Kavi has dealt it very, very vividly. He has made so many court judgments and references. Of course, that I have not grasped all of them. But this is my opinion that there is no ground for any accepted matters in construction contracts. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you so much. Our past president, Mr. Sheshadri, sir, please say something.
Hello.
Yeah. The voice is not audible.
He has to unmute himself.
Yes.
Yeah. Now the topic accepted matter arranged by SIS is widely come across in almost all the arbitration matters, and by virtue of rich experience in arbitrator in West Bengal region as a CPW arbitrator, as well as the privating partner, he has had a very rich knowledge on the accepted matter issues, judgments. He has referred, as Mr. Goyalji said, he has memorized all the judgment. I used to talk with him. He said, midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, he used to read the judgments. So he has nicely covered all the judgment which are relevant to accepted matters and arbitrability, and hope the material will be substantially useful to our participants and members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I request Advocate Indo Vijayan sir to sum it up before giving vote of thanks by our Secretary General Sivaraman sir.
Thank you, Colonel Nallathambi sir. As usual, I think Ganesh Chandra Kabi sir has highlighted in detail about the case studies, the case laws relevant to the accepted matters. One thing, as many of the views, there should not be any such accepted matters when it comes. All matters have to be adjudicated. That, in my personal note, my personal opinion, it is always better. But considering the situations when it comes to departments like railways or military engineering services, the standard forms of contract is facilitating. And to some extent, the case, the apex court or the high courts have reasonably dealt in an acceptable manner. Anyway, the judgments have paradigm shift. And as rightly Mr. Kabi has mentioned, now the commercial courts are going to take the task. They are going to deal with the accepted matters. That in that way, it is a welcome note. And for the information what he has given, really it is what you can say, it's a value addition to all, not only for engineers, like lawyers like me also has got enlightened by what Engineer Kabi has shared about these relevant judgments to the accepted matters. To sum up, one interesting thing what he wanted to highlight when it comes to arbitrability of accepted matters. And arbitrability of accepted matters, still in my limited experience, what I feel is that it will be in the purview of the arbitral tribunal and the arbitrators. The arbitrators are the right person, similar to how it has been adjudicated in the court, whether these matters are arbitrable or not. The matters of accepted or the other way, arbitrable or not, has to be in the hands of the arbitral tribunal, so that this effective dispute resolution mechanism would facilitate the industry, as well as it will facilitate an effective conflict management. That is my small supplement along with what Engineer Kabi has highlighted. And I thank Engineer Kabi for this wonderful session. As all our senior colleagues have mentioned, it is always to hear patiently what Mr. Kabi is mentioning and also take notes. Today, unfortunately, I couldn't take notes of what Engineer Kabi was highlighting. Anyway, we'll have a recorded version that will be shared with all so that we can have a good note about what the case laws he has mentioned. Because these case laws makes the arbiter tribunal more confident to manage the proceeding in an effective manner. Thank you. Now
Thank you, sir.
hand it to Colonel, sir.
Our Secretary General will propose vote of thanks. Engineer Sivaraman, sir.
Yes, thank you for inviting me to give a vote of thanks. I was really delighted by the excellent lecture, informative lecture by Mr. Kabi. He has developed a vast knowledge by doing 177 sole arbitration. So I think he has done it right from his service. He was SC. He was appointed as sole arbitrator to central government by Urban Ministry, and he was dealing so many cases. So because of his vast knowledge and reference judgments, we have become the gainer. I think we can look forward many more webinars with Mr. Kabi at a later date because so informative. Of course, we may tap him after say 3 or 4 hour seminars afterwards. We'll try to do that. Then our thanks goes to the dignitaries who are present here and participating in this seminar. I thank the President, Mr. President Agarwal ji, past President Goel ji, and the immediate past President Sheshadri ji. Then our thanks goes to Indra Vijayan of KFRCA. He is organizing his team is organizing this webinar. See, we associated with him as a training partner, with KFCRA as a training partner. Now I think they have become a venture partner. Whatever we take, I think he is there to help us. So it's really good of him and his team. He has got a young team. One of Shahrukh Kumar, then another Swethan, like that. He has a young team who are doing final year. He is developing them into a very good arbitrators. He is doing a very good service in that. So our institution thanks to him for being associated with us. Then I think thanks due to the participants. So with their only effective participants only, we are able to do the successful seminar. So at this juncture, I invite them. They can also suggest what are the topics to be covered in the further seminars. So thanks one and all. We had a very good session. Thanks you all.
Thank you, sir.
For information, sir, I will tell that in CPWD, clause 2 has been amended. I only drafted in 2017. There is no accepted matter now. It has been removed.
Good. Very good. I'm happy.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A bit of logistics before we move. So we'll be posting the recorded version in our YouTube channel and sharing the link to all the participants as well as to all the IITR members. Please like and share and subscribe in the YouTube. Apart from this, we also have the recorded version up on Facebook already. So if you want to review it again, you can please visit there. More details of the next webinar will be sent you via email. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.